The My Voice project began a couple of years ago with the aim of connecting young autistic people and, as the name suggests, amplifying our voices on the issues that matter to us. We have a section on the Ambitious About Autism website which covers a wide variety of topics written by some of the people you'll be hearing from tonight. But late last year, we decided to make a bigger impact with a large-scale campaign on a more specific issue. And on 15th of October 2016, in a room full of young autistic volunteers, it was unanimously agreed that we wanted to focus on mental health. There were a variety of issues brought up based on our lived experiences. Sadly, we still live in a society that often doesn't accept autistic people or meet our needs. Therefore, autistic people are more likely to develop mental health problems in the first place. These symptoms might present differently than for neurotypical people, and we might assume they're just our autism or some inevitable fact of life, when really that doesn't have to be the case. Those autistic people who do recognise their symptoms may have difficulties knowing how to disclose, and particularly with knowing how to deal with the often overwhelming emotional responses from the people around them when they disclose, and again, their concerns might be dismissed as just your autism. And those autistic people who manage to get past all of that then find that, frankly, there's often no support available for them anyway. This is particularly true for adults and for those transitioning from child to adult services. So the end result is that autistic people are more likely to have ongoing and increasing mental health problems, and we think that's really unfair. We agreed on 3 actions to help tackle this problem. A toolkit to assess mental health, which you'll hear about later, a creative way of communicating the message, which you'll see later, and research into young autistic people's experiences of mental health. We've been carrying out research, as Fern will now explain.
Hi, I'm Fern. I'm currently a master's student at the University of Sussex studying anthropology of development. My normal involves listening to Christmas music all year round, having picnics in the snow, and inventing languages. At the start of our research, we decided to focus on 3 main questions. Firstly, how people interpret normal. Secondly, how did a person's normal change when experiencing mental health issues? And finally, what support was received? We felt these 3 questions were important in being able to generate a clear understanding of what mental health issues might look like compared to autism. As Georgia explained, many of us have experiences of our normal being mistaken for mental health issues, while many of us have had mental health issues and been told this is just part of being autistic and it's been dismissed. It can be difficult for us, friends and families, as well as professionals, to recognise and know when our mental health is suffering. By asking these 3 questions, we aim to challenge this, to show the difference between how a person felt, acted and behaved usually, or what their normal looks like, and how this looked when they were experiencing mental health issues. We also thought it was helpful to know what support existed and what people had accessed it, if it worked, if it didn't work, and any existing barriers. To get access to our research questions, we used an online survey and interviews, which were carried out face-to-face, via telephone, Skype and Messenger. We advertised these through social media and also autism groups, as we decided this was most likely to help us reach our target audience and get a diverse range of respondents as possible. We felt surveys and interviews were the best methodology, as they allowed people to take the time they needed to answer questions, and also we can make these really accessible. The questions for both were designed by Laura and Liz at Cray, as well as us at My Voice. I think it's important to note here again that autistic people were involved in the designing of the research questions. In total, we had 109 people complete the online survey, 21 people were interviewed, and 130 respondents in all. However, as Georgia will now explain, there are limitations to our research, which must be taken into account.
Before we get into the findings, we wanted to be really honest and upfront about some of the limitations of our research and address some of the criticisms that we received along the way. This research was open to young autistic people aged 16 to 25, because that's who we are at My Voice, and therefore who we can better represent. And because different generations of people, will have had different experiences through the mental health system, and that's really difficult to capture in such a short research project. This upper-age limit was one of the biggest criticisms I came across personally in publicising the survey, and it's an important one, because there is nothing out there seeking the views of autistic adults. And I really want to drive that home for any academics that might be in the room. There are so many amazing autistic adults out there with really important things to say, and they've been ignored for too long. So I hope research like this can be expanded in the future. This is also particularly important given that autistic women, another group often ignored in autism research, are more likely to be diagnosed later in life. However, I think we did really well on gender diversity, with over 50% of our respondents being women, and also a range of non-binary genders represented as well. Having said that, we did significantly less well in terms of race. 87% of our respondents were white, and that's important to note given that some respondents to the survey specifically highlighted the lack of culturally sensitive support available. This is something to bear in mind in future when we're disseminating surveys. Where is this being shared? Who are you reaching? Who are we not reaching? We also had to look specifically at England, given the diversity of healthcare policies and education systems across the UK, but this excludes a lot of people we could have asked, particularly given that, as you may have noticed, one of our team was Scottish. Within that, about half of our respondents were from London or the South East, which again is a massive dissemination problem. Our interview recruits had the option of using the phone, Skype or Messenger to talk to Cray, removing the travel barriers, and this was also particularly important for accessibility. I know I find typing easier than unscripted talking, particularly when talking on such personal topics, although it's important to note that not all autistic people use verbal language at all, and the complex nature of the survey, the complex nature of the survey questions may have meant that the survey wasn't universally accessible either. What this shows is that one piece of research in 3 months, with the resources we have, can't do everything. It's frustrating to not be able to represent every single autistic person in the country, but it just isn't feasible. And the reason that's such a problem is because there's so little else out there, and in particular, barely anything that is led by autistic people ourselves. And I hope that gives other researchers food for thought tonight. This is the first step which you need to expand upon, and it's an important first step, but it's also important that we take responsibility for our shortcomings and own them in order to improve in future.
So what did we find out? To understand how people experience their normal and what normal might look like, we gave our respondents a range of behaviours, emotions and feelings, and asked them to respond if these applied to them more, less, or the same as other people. For example, our respondents were asked how often they felt they engaged in repetitive behaviour, slept, and enjoyed interests compared to others. Our findings at this stage already presented us with a key issue. For our research sample, what their normal looked like was quite negative. 83% felt more under strain than other people. 74% were unhappy and depressed, while 68% had less confidence in themselves than other people. If these are the statistics of the general population, this would cause a lot of concern. The fact that autistic young people feel this way is no more acceptable. What is especially concerning is the fact that autistic young people are accepting this as normal for them. Our second key finding was made when we asked our respondents to look at these same categories again and answer if they behaved or felt a certain way, the same, less, or more if they were suffering from mental health issues compared to their normal. We found that many of the behaviours people engaged in were the same whether or not they were suffering from mental health issues. The difference between the two was the extent. When experiencing mental health problems, autistic traits and mood become more extreme. They don't necessarily change. This explains why it's so often the case that autistic people may struggle to notice or know if they're experiencing poor mental health. It also explains why so often mental health issues are dismissed by others when autistic people do look for help as simply being part of autistic. The next slide here shows that only 1/4 of our respondents were very or extremely confident in knowing when they're experiencing mental health problems. There was a common theme in our surveys of our respondents being made aware of their mental health issues by others such as parents, friends or professionals, picking up that something was not right for the autistic person themselves. Others only became aware when their mental health problems after they were sectioned, arrested, or things were severely affected. This clearly highlights that autistic young people need tools in place so they can be empowered to have the ability to notice when their mental health is suffering. They also need to have tools in place so they can present to professionals that they are suffering from mental health issues and that this is just not part of being autistic. This will hopefully reduce the severity of mental health issues that need to be reached before they are noticed. Our toolkit, which you'll hear about later, is how we suggest this can be achieved. While an autistic person may act in a similar way or have similar emotions if they are suffering from mental health or not, it is crucial that we don't see autism and mental health issues as the same. It's also really important that with these statistics we don't just assume autism is a bad thing and everything about it is negative. There are differences between the two, which the first quote here sums up. We also need to be aware that some of the problems faced that are negative are not necessarily directly linked to being autistic. Rather, they are a result of the environment set up around neurotypicals. It can be society and not autism itself that can create mental health issues around being autistic.
Okay, so we then asked our respondents who they went to for support and how helpful they found this. Our main finding about support for mental health problems, I'm sure to the shocking surprise of absolutely nobody in this room, is that there isn't very much of it. Our respondents described being pushed from pillar to post, being deemed not bad enough, and in particular, huge difficulties transitioning into adult services. We did get a more positive reaction about family and friends as a positive source of support. However, many of our respondents felt guilty for bothering them or unsure how to deal with their responses. This graph shows the responses to, are you confident in knowing who to contact should you be experiencing mental health problems? And as you can see, it's not a very positive picture. Only 16% of our respondents said they felt very or extremely confident. There are various factors at play here, and it's important to note that this isn't just a case of autistic people not being informed enough. Many people told us there really was nowhere to go. I've got a quote on the next slide that is an example of this. I won't read the whole thing out, but this person said, accessing help is such a long drawn out task that it's often more stressful than it's worth. So no, I don't feel confident knowing who to contact because no one seems to be any use. This quote, I think, reflects a sentiment that we saw across the board in all our questions, and this is also reflected in the question on the next slide. Are you confident that if you sought help you would get appropriate support, which as you can see is also skewed really negatively. It's worth noting at this point that we got quite a few middle option responses, so moderately in this case. Again, as anyone who's ever filled in a survey will know, there's a tendency to default to the middle option whenever someone is remotely unsure about how to answer the question. And in fact, a lot of the comments you received under these middle options were also quite negative. For example, for this question, one person simply said, funding. It's a short comment, but it's an important one. If we go on to the next slide, we asked our respondents if they sought help from clinical or healthcare professionals, school, college or university, family or friends. And for each of these, we asked how useful this was and how comfortable they were disclosing. In terms of medical and educational professionals, the main takeaway was that our respondents didn't find them very helpful and weren't comfortable disclosing to them. In fact, although many said they were dissatisfied with their treatment, they also said that they were grateful for having received anything at all, and that was really disheartening. We shouldn't be fighting for scraps. It shouldn't be the norm to not receive treatment. On a more positive note, family and friends were seen to be a helpful source of support, but as I said, many feel guilty about relying on them, with many respondents saying they felt like a burden, which amongst other things should really make us think about how we portray autistic people as burdens. On the next slide, we've drawn out a couple of quotes, sorry they're quite long, that we thought highlighted some key issues that came up time and time again. I won't try and read out the entire thing. This first person mentions long waiting lists, which came up time and time again in our responses. We wouldn't accept it for broken bones, so why do we accept it for mental health? This is a particular problem for people who move around a lot, and it's something that I've come up against as a student. People in the 16 to 25 age bracket are likely to be going back and forth to uni, or maybe even moving away to work, and they risk being locked out of the system. Altogether at a really crucial and vulnerable point in their lives. This person also says, not everyone understands that autism affects communication and relationships anyway, and you then have to educate the person who's meant to be helping you, which then drains you. That shouldn't be how it works. The professionals are supposed to be helping us. It shouldn't have to be our job when we're at our most vulnerable. I also wanted to draw attention to this second comment, because it highlighted an issue that I felt saw discussed a lot. This person, in order to access counselling, was told to call them directly, and for many people that's just not possible, or at least it's so difficult that it will put them off doing it. I feel like a lot of people see the phone issue as something to just get over, but many can't, and if the phone is the only option, you aren't going to suddenly get lots of autistic people magically just getting over it. You're going to get people hitting that barrier and not being able to access the support they need. I'll leave this here. This quote was one I found particularly appalling. This person said that when they visited A&E during suicidal episodes, they were dismissed as too articulate and emotionless. This person was one of a huge number dismissed as being not bad enough. Again, we wouldn't say, oh, your leg's only a little bit broken. Even if they weren't at a severe crisis point, they shouldn't have to wait until they're suffering that much. It also shows the need for a better understanding of autism and for not expecting narrow, stereotypical emotional responses that are based only on what neurotypical people would do. Everyone's different. Some people, it's gone, sorry, everyone's different. Some people cry a lot. I have to say I'm not one of them. I tend to close in on myself when I'm stressed. And I might act fine to avoid further uncertainty or to avoid other people's reactions. Some autistic people don't have any outward emotional response at all, but that doesn't make them emotionless. What I'm saying here is literally autistic people have feelings, and I shouldn't have to say that. It's 2017. We should be past that. Yeah. And something that came up a lot in October that was really reflected in our interview responses was this issue of transitioning from child to adult services. As one person told us, you hit 18 and all your services just go poof. Sorry. Autistic people don't disappear at the age of 18. And that is exactly why, as I said before, we really need to listen to and amplify the voices of autistic adults. Having your 18th birthday doesn't flick a switch. Nobody turns 18 and changes overnight, and you shouldn't be expected to.
While our findings show there is a lot of work to be done, which won't be easy or achieved overnight, it is important to remember it's not all bad. There are positive stories out there. There are people who did successfully get support they needed and had things that worked for them. So to end on a positive note, here's an example of a young person who did feel supported and who said they were helped so much by being listened to. We had another story of teachers who went out their way to help someone learn strategies to cope and manage their stress and anger. From this we can learn that things can work, things can go well, and things can change. It might not be easy to make these changes, but it should not be viewed as impossible. Instead, autistic young people deserve, as everyone does, to have the right support and tools put in place. Our toolkit, which you'll hear about soon, aims to help with this. What autistic people deserve needs to become something we don't just talk about here, or something that's only tweeted about tonight, or something that is just presented in research findings to show what we're not achieving. Instead, what young autistic people deserve is for active changes to take place that mean we can identify mental health issues when they occur, be taken seriously by professionals and mental health services when we approach them, and get support that works and helps us to return to our normal. That in itself is what needs to be made normal by everyone.